Hello, I am the Script Monk, and welcome to part dos on things I learned from Die Hard, the one movie I learned more in screencraft from than an entire semester of film school. And this time I'm looking at one of the most underdeveloped aspects of action-oriented movies, which is building character. See, while action-oriented screenplays tend to put all their focus on creating an exciting, fast-paced plot, the audience isn't going to care about that plot unless they can connect with the people that plot is happening to. Because, you know, the pleasure of movies is in the vicarious experience, and when we can't attach our interest to the characters, we remain emotionally detached from the story. All the explosions in the world aren't gonna make us care. Like, remember the movie Independence Day? I dare you to name one character from that movie. Not the actor, the character's name. You can't, because those characters were boring. But herein lies the rub. In fast-paced genre movies, there's a very narrow window of time to establish and flesh out your characters. As soon as you start page 1, the clock is ticking. You got maybe 6, 8, at the most 12 to 15 pages to establish everything the audience needs to know about your characters before the inciting incident. Why? Because the inciting incident is a point of no return. Once it occurs, the story is in motion and needs to stay in motion. We no longer have the luxury to stop and casually get to know the story's people, because we're now on a moving train. And this window of time is even narrower for characters introduced after the inciting incident, because we want to get these folks involved in the story as soon as possible, but we can't just toss them in as total strangers. So, given these challenges, writers need to find tricks and strategies to communicate character in quick, easy-to-grasp ways. And Die Hard illustrates 3 devices that should be in every writer's toolkit. Clashing colors look brightest when placed side by side. A noise sounds loudest when it follows silence. And you look most attractive when you hit the club with your ugliest friends. Likewise, Die Hard knows the quickest way to show what kind of person a character is by putting them right next to what they are not. Here's John McClane's basic character. John McClane is a blue-collar New York cop. He lives by working class values and is proud of it. He doesn't like to talk much and definitely doesn't discuss his feelings. He's also a man of integrity, sticking to his guns to the point of stubbornness. So how do we establish this all in a short time? Well, Die Hard's setup sequence lays the groundwork by placing John in constant contrast with everyone and everything around him. Everywhere John goes in the movie's setup, he sticks out like a sore thumb. John doesn't jibe with the California lifestyle. He sits in the front seat of the limo. He's not properly dressed for the Christmas party, and he doesn't seem comfortable at all in this crowd. Especially around this guy. I mean, personal space, buddy. And what starts with environment is put into even sharper contrast by every character John encounters along the way. For every one of John's basic personality traits, he's put in a scene with a character who embodies the exact opposite trait, and through the contrast, John's qualities shine as clear as day. John never seems more taciturn than when he's with the highly extroverted Argyle. He never seems more rough around the edges than with the suave and sophisticated Mr. Takagi. His silent integrity shines through when compared to the obnoxious phony Ellis, and we see his working class pride by how he dismisses the smug yuppie traveler. And through all these contrasts, we get what we need to understand the cause of John's marital rift with Holly. John has too much pride, he doesn't talk things out, and he doesn't respect the world, which has given Holly her own sense of value, which leads to a foolish argument, which then feeds the emotional drive that compels John throughout the remainder of the narrative. Director John McTiernan doesn't like to open his scenes with faces. Instead, he likes hands. He likes feet. McTiernan prefers to emphasize the action being performed over who is performing it. Seriously, count how many scenes begin with John's bare feet. And this can be an especially useful technique when it comes to introducing characters for the very first time. In my last video, I introduced telling actions. A telling action is some physical behavior that expresses something about a character's personality we never get from appearance alone. And Die Hard likes to create first impressions, not through the character's face, but through a carefully chosen telling action. Take the introduction of Sergeant Al Powell. In the preceding scene, we learn that police dispatch is going to send a single cop to check out the disturbance at Nakatomi Tower. Cut to a convenience store, where we see the front of a policeman's uniform loading its arms with unhealthy snack cakes. Now, we can safely assume this is going to be the guy who's going to get the call, but we can tell right away he's no top cop. He's soft, out of shape, and like the cake he eats, he's probably gooey and sweet. We then get some banter with a rude clerk, which shows that while Powell doesn't always get the respect he deserves, you can only push his patience with it so far. He might be soft on the outside, but he's solid in the middle, which becomes his key characteristic in his later conflict with Lieutenant Robinson. But for Holly, we don't get to see her face for almost her entire introduction. Instead, we get the back of her head. No, wait, back up. Holly actually begins as a lone figure in the crowd, the one body still bustling about while everyone else is enjoying the party. So before we even see Holly's face, we know she's diligent, responsible, and career-focused. On top of that, the way she deals with Ellis shows that while she may suffer fools, you can't budge her from her position, which comes back again in her argument with John. Now, John McClane's introduction is most interesting of all, because instead of telling us what John is, it tells us what he is not. Our first shot is of a hand gripping an airplane armrest as the plane lands. Move up to this guy, then out to the face belonging to the hand.
You don't like flying, do you?
What gives you that idea?
Right off the bat, we learn our hero is not a stereotypical hard-as-nails badass. Despite his tough front, John does not in fact have nerves of steel. He is capable of fear and anxiety, which foreshadows the crux of John's eventual character arc, as we see with Holly and how he reacts to conflict over the story's first half. Despite John's tough front, fear compels him to avoid facing conflicts head-on, which is a weakness he must overcome if he's gonna defeat Hans. Supporting characters also get introduced through telling actions. We first meet Dick Thornburg lying to a woman about his pull to get dinner reservations. We first see Lieutenant Robinson flying onto the scene and barking orders without yet knowing what's going on. And Theo's twisted sense of humor is established right off the bat. When chosen well enough, one telling action can go a long way. Now, some character information has to be spoken out loud. This is never ideal, but sometimes important backstory can't be communicated any other way. But the worst way to do this is just to have characters open their mouths and say it. A lot of mediocre scripts introduce their characters through what's called cocktail party scenes. Two characters meet and just tell each other everything the audience needs to know. Not only is this poor writing, it's implausible behavior, because outside of an actual cocktail party, you will rarely meet someone who will just volunteer personal information without good reason. This leads to a hard and simple rule about exposition. No character must ever volunteer information. Rather, the character gives information only because something forces them to. If you have some exposition you need a character to tell the world, the only plausible way to do this is by creating a situation that requires them to give it. For example, one important part of our hero's background is that he's an experienced police officer. But John's not the type of guy who would just say, "Hi, I'm a cop." Instead, a situation forces him to reveal this. When John gets out of his airplane seat, we get this look from the yuppie traveler, and we see John is carrying a gun. Seeing the yuppie's expression, John is compelled by circumstances to say,
It's okay, I'm a cop.
okay, so now we have a cop in an airport, but where exactly is he? Is he coming home, or is he visiting from someplace else?
California.
Ah, we're in California. And our guy is definitely not a native. But we still don't know one really important thing. What's this guy's name? So we need some sort of situation that will require him to... oh, that'll do.
Hey, I'm John McClane.
But more complicated exposition requires a more complicated setup. In this case, conflict can work wonders. Here's my favorite dialogue scene of the entire movie. In it, John spills his entire backstory on why he's here and why his marriage is in trouble. But again, John doesn't volunteer this information. It's forced out of him through conflict. See, Argyle is an extrovert and only feels comfortable when there's conversation. So his scene goal is to get John to talk. But John doesn't like to talk. So his scene goal is to get Argyle to shut up. So we have two characters in conflict. Here's the scene.
Relax, we got everything in this mug, man. Look at this, CD, CB, TV, telephone, full bar, VHS. If your friends have to trot, know a few mama bears we can hook up with. Or is he married?
He's married.
First piece of information. Volunteered by John to tell Argyle that he's not interested in partying. Also, the bear makes it obvious that John has kids.
So your lady live out here?
About the past 6 months.
Meaning you still live in New York?
You always ask this many questions, Argyle?
So now the scene conflict is fully underway. Argyle wants conversation, John wants silence. And just like in any scene, the character most dedicated to their scene goal is gonna win out.
Sorry, man, I used to drive a cab, and people would expect a little chit-chat. So you divorced?
Just drive the car, man.
Hey, come on, you divorced? You separated? She beat you up?
Argyle is not backing down, and this last little joke takes a jab at John's manhood. So, being a manly man, John is forced to give a proper explanation.
She had a good job. Turned into a great career.
Now that meant she had to move here.
You're very fast, Argyle.
So why didn't you come?
Argyle is functioning as a guide character. That's a character who asks the questions and gets the information that we, the audience, want to know. Argyle is literally asking John for his backstory.
Well, why'd you come with her, man? What's up?
Because I'm a New York cop. I got a 6-month backlog of New York scumbags I'm still trying to put behind bars. I can't just pick up and go that easy.
In other words, you thought she wasn't gonna make it out here, and she'd come crawling on back to you, so why bother to pack, right?
Like I said, you're very fast, Argyle.
You mind if we hear some tunes?
Note that most of this information comes not directly from John, but from Argyle putting the pieces together for us. That way, the viewer gets the information they need while still preserving John's tough, silent nature. The exposition is completely plausible because it's the outcome of two conflicting personalities. Once again, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more things I learned from Die Hard, please make sure to click the like button and write a comment below so I'll know that this series is going to be worth continuing. Because next time I plan on explaining 3 secret devices that Die Hard uses to keep building its conflict from beginning to end. So until that day, I am the Script Monk.